How's it going, everybody? AvitarX back with another Ranger video. Today we're talking about an archery spec. I know a lot of you council players just got mod 10 and you're looking for a good archery spec. This is what I roll with. It's best in groups, not as useful in solo as Trapper, but it is viable and it does put out a lot of damage. First thing I want to mention is we went Storm Warden, and that's because we got the electric shot, which does a lot of AoE damage, as well as some other nice AoE features that comes with this. If you want to go with the Pathfinder, it's not going to break the spec. It's up to you. It's really whatever you're more comfortable with. Alright, going down our tree. Crit. This is going to be a high crit build, so we want a lot of crit. Hit points, if you're not alive, you're not doing damage. And we put 3 points in here to increase our daily damage. Coming down here, after switching stances, we're going to do more damage. This is so we can stance. We're not going to be going in and out like we did with the Trapper spec, but we will be hitting that swap just to pick up that extra damage. Up here, we buffed up our encounter powers, and over here we buff up our at-wills. I'd like to put 3 points in there, however, I'm a dirty elf, and dirty elves don't have enough points. If you find yourself as a human or something, you got some extra points that you can put in, that'd be a good place to put it. But the one that you absolutely want to max out is this dexterity. Dex gives you more damage, and we're a high dex build. We're just going to go across the board on dex, which we can talk about in a second. Okay, so up into the archery tree. We went with Keen Eye. We want that AP over the movement, or sorry, stamina. We don't move around as much, so our stamina is a little bit less critical as it was with the Trapper spec. So more AP means more dailies, which means more damage. Here we picked up more crit. That's a no-brainer. We picked that over this one. We don't really use Split the Sky that much. I did the numbers on Active Combat Tracker, and Split the Sky just doesn't, it's not combat effective. Coming over here, picked up Long Shot. This increases your crit as long as you're ranged. Again, like I said, we want more crit. And then I just picked everything down the rest of this tree, and we'll talk about why real quick. Range does more damage. That's a no-brainer. Also, aim shot decreased recharge time, which is great. We are actually using aim shot these days. With the changes they did in mod 10, it's viable. Bottomless quiver. Range powers get cooled down faster. That's really critical because we're no longer doing that Trapper stance where it cools down our abilities. Here we picked up Rising Focus, increased crit and crit severity and power. That's amazing. Stacks 3 times, so a possible 15% in each. Stillness of the Forest. Range damage increase. I mean, you're seeing a theme here by 10%, which is nice. And then, obviously, the last one is going to put that prey on your ability or on your enemy. Here's the thing you need to know about prey. It lasts for 20 seconds or until they die, and you can only put it on one target. Okay. You can't change which target you put it on. Once it's on them for 20 or they die. So try to put it on a boss. This way you're doing the extra 50% to that boss as opposed to just a trash mob. The good news is if you mess it up and you put it on a trash mob, not that big of a deal because they'll die faster. Our extra 5 points we brought down here for fleet stance. The reason I did that is because sooner or later they're going to come in for the melee hit. And if you have to switch over to melee, you're going to want that extra movement to get you around for those 6 seconds, get you back at ranged, and start raffle stomping again. Alright, so going over to powers. The big ones we want to talk about, and you can put your points wherever you want to put your points, except for these big abilities. Aspect of the Falcon. We're trying to get out into the nosebleed section of the fight. The farther you're ranged, as we saw in our feats, the more damage you're going to do. The other one we're going to pick up is Aspect of the Serpent, which is always nice. It's going to give you that nice damage buff. You can pick up some of the other stuff for situationals, you know, Aspect of the Pack, Blade Storm's not really as useful in this spec. Twin Blade Storm is nice, just because if you're doing AoE damage from like the electric shock, you'll do a little bit more damage, but it's not going to be as critical. Aim shot, like I said, we're picking this up. When you're doing regular trash mobs and there's a bunch of people out, you're going to be using electric shot more, but when you're doing single target damage, aim shot is best bang for buck right there. Plus, if you do find yourself in that melee range, you can hit him with that aim strike, and it'll put that dot on him, which is nice. Going down for our encounters, we're just going to go right down to long strider shot, cordon of arrows, and we're also going to pick up constricting arrow. And the constricting arrow, there's going to put those roots on them. They don't last as long as they do with the trapper, but that's going to keep them at range a little bit longer, so you can do some more damage to them. And long strider, if you don't know about the buffs of long strider, go check out my trapper video. I talk about it, but it's really going to buff up your damage. And cordon of arrows gives us a really nice AoE damage. And then I had already mentioned earlier, electric shot. That's going to give us really nice AoE damage, for a nice splash AoE damage, which I like. I briefly mentioned it for our points here, or our score. We're just going to go Dex and Wiz across the board. Dex because it's going to increase our damage, and Wisdom because it's going to increase our crit. Like I said, we're trying to get our crit up right here. Boons. So there's a general theme in boons. You're always going to want power over defense. Pretty much any type of defense, deflect, it's not going to be as critical as increasing your crit or power. So here we got power. Here we picked up lifesteal. I also like lifesteal because the more lifesteal you have, the more heals you get. When you're sitting back in the nosebleeds, a lot of time your healer won't notice you, so you won't get heals, and you're going to start burning through potions. Regen is largely worthless in my opinion. Critical, again, we already talked about that. Recovery is nice, but we're trying to build up that crit. For the last one here, I went ahead and picked this one up just because it increases the crit after that damage buff. Moving down to Sharndar, all the way across the bottom on this one, just a straight line. Here we picked power over defense, we picked crit over deflect, we picked action points over HP increase. Now, if you find yourself getting action points really fast, like maybe you have a friend who's a cleric, or you're just getting action points real fast, those hit points wouldn't be bad. And then here, obviously we want to do more damage as opposed to heal ourselves. If you find yourself dying a lot, maybe you want to go with Tranquility. And then this one, I love this ability, increases your power as you kill more people, which is amazing. Dread Ring, we picked power over crit. The reason I picked power over crit is because power is always there, crit is sometimes there. That's just a personal call. I mean, if you want to go with crit and see if the numbers work out, I honestly haven't checked it, but I like power over crit. Lifesteal over regen. Deflect over resistance ignored. So my armor penetration is really, really high right now, so resistance ignored is completely worthless to me. However, if you're having trouble hitting that cutoff, you might want to pick up that one. And then for this one, we picked the bottom one here, which after the effect ends, they get 25% less heals from spells. That's a tough one. Personally, I don't need the heals, so I went with the damage. But again, if you're having troubles getting heals, you can go ahead and pick that one up. And then Rampaging Madness, obviously, you get those stacks of power, lifesteal, and regeneration, which are really nice. Okay, Combat Advantage is always nice. I don't really need AoE that resists that much, so I picked the Combat Advantage. Incoming heals over stamina gain. Again, like I said, I'm not having stamina problems sitting back there anymore, so I picked that one. Crit Severity over recovery. Just like I said, we're trying to get that crit up, trying to make that crit do more damage. This is really nice. So if you can get your stamina down, right, you sit in the back and you kind of jump around a little bit, you'll actually get more power, which is nice. And then we picked the chance to get healed, or chance when healed to gain damage. Here's the thing. This procs on lifesteal. So you have the potential to be getting an extra 3,000 damage bonus all the time, which is really nice, as long as you have lifesteal. Here we picked power over defense. Again, crit over deflect. Oh no, sorry, lifesteal. Crit over lifesteal. Again, trying to get that crit. I love lifesteal, but crit's more important. Combat Advantage over regeneration. Regeneration's worthless. Here Here I picked control effects now have 5% less duration. I hate being controlled. It's a pet peeve of mine. And again, I'm not too concerned about the stamina. Down here, always pick the 10% damage versus demons. The other ones, in my opinion, are just not worth it. Tyranny of Dragons here, going down. Again, power over hit points. We're going to pick crit over that deflect. Here we're picking armor pen over defense, just because, I mean, I don't really need the armor pen as much, but defense, I shouldn't be getting hit in the back 40s. I pick lifesteal over regen because, again, regen's worthless. I haven't got these last ones. However, if I did, I would probably go with the crit severity as opposed to these other ones, but the lifesteal might be nice. But always crit. Like I said, we're trying to get that crit up. I don't have any cool stronghold ones. Okay, lifesteal over incoming heals. That's a tough one, to be honest, because incoming heals will also count when you get lifesteal. So last time I went with the incoming heals. This time I went with lifesteal, and it's still too early to determine whether or not which one's better. If someone knows which one's better on those two, go ahead and drop it in the comment section below. I'd love to know. Control effects, again, I'm trying to reduce those control effects, and I have pretty good combat advantage. Stamina regens faster. Well, I picked that over action point because, I gotta be honest, I'm getting a ton of action points, so I didn't really need that much. And then Baphomet's Might is just amazing for that crit. Last one, we went with the power over defense, lifesteal severity over regen, because anything over regen, crit over recovery, and for the last one, I went with Gale of Retribution. The reason I like this because after it ends, you get that extra 1,000 crit, so that's nice. Companions haven't really changed. I might end up swapping out Rekdar the Sly here. He's my Slyblade Kobold, just because I don't root as much. But other people in the group do root still, especially I roll with my wife who's a wizard, and she's constantly rooting things, so I'm still getting damage off that. But if you're not running with somebody like that, you can swap those out. Again, you know, pets where you get crit are going to be nice. So you see I got my crit pets here. But it's pretty much the same concept on your pets as you had with the other spec. And then again with the mount bonuses, you know, go through, pick up what you want, where you want it. I have the stuff I have for very specific reasons. So like I want to get my lifesteal up. I like that when I get that crit, I put a dot on the enemy. I have it 2 times. I've still been trying to work out whether or not it double stacks or double procs, and I gotta be honest, despite the fact I'm running active combat tracker, I still haven't been able to work that out. If somebody knows, let me know. And I like my companion doing extra damage. So, okay, enough talk. Let's go ahead and get in the fight and see what this looks like. So I just got my target dummies here. 90% of the time, you can just, I don't have my companion up right now, so you won't see those numbers. I just like to sit in the back as far as I can. You just kind of got to get a feel for how far back you can sit and just go through your rotation. The idea is you're going to try and get as many targets as you can to optimize that splash damage on your strike there. I'm not critting very much right now. Oh, there we go. We're getting some more crits. And it looks super easy, and it is compared to the last spec we did with the Trapper spec. Right here, we're just going to sit in the back 40s and hit our electric shot unless we have an encounter ability up. For the single target damage, you can see how fast that's that aim shot I'm doing right there. And you can see those crits coming up. You can see that cooks off a lot faster than it used to. But the problem is we're only hitting that single target right there. So if there's a group, obviously you're not going to be using that. But for a single target, that works perfect. Alright. Well, I hope that helps some of you folks working on your mod 10 spec. Like I said, this is what I've been running. It's a little tricky when you get into the melee, but into the single single combat. If you're trying to go work up in Icewind Dale, it's a little tough. You got to get a little bit more creative. But when you're in instances and you got someone to hold aggro for you, you do a ton of damage, and it's a lot of fun to sit in the back as opposed to what we've been doing, jumping into the fight. I hope this is something you guys like. Go ahead and subscribe if you'd like. Give me a like. Throw something in the comments below whether or not you see something I could change. I'm always open for input. Thanks for watching, guys. Y'all have a good one.